So good evening, everyone. Thank you once more again for joining me, spending your evening on the 3rd of January discussing money, specifically how compound interest works. But I'm doing a part 2 of a lesson or class that Chipepo did yesterday, which is how compounding works, but from the investing point of view. So I'm tackling the debt version. So as an outline, for content, this is what we are going to discuss. Mainly our focus will be 3 types of loans, which are the HELSB loan, which majority of most students in university have. We're also going to look at a non-bank loan, which is simply a loan from a microfinance and the charges that they might have. And then also look at an example of a bank loan. And then I'm going to consolidate all of that and discuss how exactly do you get yourself out of debt when you have debt. And then as an afterthought, how do you go about tackling your finances when you now have this information about compounding on investing, and you also have all of this information on compounding as far as how it applies to your debt. So an introduction, just in case there are a few people that don't know me. So hi, my name is Victoria Chama. I'm a financial literacy educator as well as an investor. So I have been actively managing my finances for over 3 years now. So this started from the ground up. So this started with budgeting, saving, and now investing. So mainly I share my financial freedom on my social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook mainly. And as an investor, I have 3 active passive income generators. So these are through unit trust interest that I receive from my unit trust account. I also receive passive income through bond discount interest, as well as bond coupons themselves. And then my final passive income stream would be through dividends because I own shares on the Lusaka Stock Exchange. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritties, I have multiple disclaimers to give from here. So first and foremost, what this slide is essentially saying is that this presentation is meant for educational purposes. So in order to answer any financial questions you have, you might find that I might answer them a bit vaguely, but that's simply because when you're dealing with finances, these have got serious repercussions as far as what the outcome might be if I suggest any financial product or service. So therefore, in order to get not accurate financial advice, but financial advice that is more credible, I suggest you do that with someone who's registered with SEC. So this is our governing body in Zambia. So this is the Securities Exchange Commission. So you have a list of financial and investment advisors that are published on their websites. And these are the people or firms or companies that you can contact to actually give you legitimate financial advice. So please take this information with a grain of salt, and please know that it is meant for financial education purposes only. Another disclaimer I have is before anything else, before you make any financial decision, whether it's getting debt or investing in any asset class, first things first, the foundations are always important. And what this simply means is that you ensure everything at a fundamental level is set to at least cushion you when life happens to you. And when we talk about financial foundations, what I'm simply referring to is you should be sure about yourself as a person and as an individual, what it is that you want out of life, especially on the financial side. So things such as defining what your why is. In addition to that, you need to understand what your financial goals are, and you need to create a financial plan that is going to answer those financial goals. When you see someone doing something, it doesn't mean you also need to do it. You need to sit down by yourself and then select and write down those things that are important to you. And these will be your compass and your guide. So your financial goals will always go hand in hand with your why. And the third point is you should have a long-term horizon when you're looking at investing in general. When you're looking at financial investment strategies, and I know that people mentioned a few of these are not 2-year, 3-year things where you say that if I put money for 2 years, how much money am I going to get back? or even 7 years. That is such a small amount of time to allow your money to grow. Even in the examples that she was giving yesterday, you would see that the compounding effect, the very nice compounding effect where your money was almost tripling or doubling in a year, happened at the tail end of your investment projection, usually at the 18th year mark, 15th year mark, or even 20-something year mark. So we are not looking at short-term horizons. And then finally, when we say financial stability, these include having an emergency fund, savings, and sinking funds. All these three things combined are going to create some form of cushion so that in case anything happens in life, whether it is good or bad, you have a starting point to go with. Now, because I am looking at the debt perspective, these two things or these three things are imperative. Whether you have debt or not, it is important that you always seek to save yourself first. Make sure you have an emergency fund before you even start thinking of creating a debt payment plan and all those other things. So I'll circle back on all these points a little bit later on in our presentation, but make sure that your financial foundation is set. And these are just some of the things that you typically focus on. So before we get into the actual core details of these loan statements that I want to go through and demonstrate how compound interest works on the debt side version, I just want to give us quick background to how this class actually came about. So a few days back, there's an Instagram account that I follow, Financially Savvy Millennial, that created this IG post where she declared that essentially she would be going off, should be doing a debt payoff journey on her Hellsby loan. And there are probably people who have paid off their Hellsby loan in a shorter period of time than the stipulated 10 years. But for me, this account is almost personal. It almost feels like it's myself. So in this post, and I suggest you find her, this is the exact handle that she uses on her Instagram. Please find her and follow her journey, because she's going to be essentially sharing everything that she knows along the way as far as paying off this debt. So this is her complete handle, financially_savvy_millennial. So within this post, and most of the content usually is in the caption of the post, not the actual image, she discussed mindset around money, the fact that she's a civil servant on low to mid income status. So I'll show the caption in a moment. And the fact that she lives within her means and that she is on a mission. She's literally on a mission to clear this debt off. And the second background to this was, I think a day or two ago, Chipepo also posted a free class explaining how compound interest works. So I thought, oh, wow, Financially Savvy Millennial is planning to pay off debt. So meaning she's not trying to pay off interest, more interest than she needs to, and meaning she's probably tapping into the power of compound interest, but in the reverse way, which is paying off her debt. On the other hand, Chipepo was doing a class on how do you earn money and how do you get money from investment assets. And I thought it would be a good idea just to piggyback off her class and then say, let's me do a debt version. So hence the creation of this class that we're in right now. Now, so first things first, we're going to discuss interest. This will literally take less than a minute. I hope people were able to join yesterday's class, because people did an exceptional job with explaining these two kinds of interest with formulas, all the trackers that you can use or online calculators. She did a wonderful job. So I'm not going to go into that background, but mainly just to scratch the surface. So when you think of interest, especially from an income standpoint, meaning you want to earn money, you typically want to get money from your asset classes, especially if they have the compounding effect. So the two types of interest are either simple interest, meaning your interest is only calculated on the principal, versus the compound interest, which is interest calculated on the addition of the previous interest as well as your original principal amount. So the idea is you want compound interest because that is how your money is going to grow. And people mentioned this, and everyone who knows or understands compound interest will tell you that it is indeed the eighth wonder of the world. So unfortunately, or is it fortunately, it has two side effects. If you're using it to grow wealth, very good, thumbs up. But on the other hand, if you are paying it, meaning you are liable or you have debt, it is actually going to destroy your journey to wealth creation. So probably I would argue that financial savvy millennial thought to herself to say, oh my God, I have all this debt that I have, and it's going to take me 10 years to pay it off. Even just the thought was, for some people, that is enough to actually push them forward to actually seek more solutions and strategies as far as paying out their debt. So this is the caption that spoke to me. So I'll quickly peruse through it and just simply highlight the points that I want to discuss. So I think the portions that typically stand out with one, she's a civil servant and she takes home about 7,000 kwacha. So this is net income. And then she also has a HELSB loan for her undergraduate degree. And other important information that we find is that she's paying a sum of 1,100 every single month from her paycheck directly from the source before it even hits the bank account to pay this loan. And this has been happening for the past 2 years. So 2 years, she's been paying 1,100. And that's approximately, how much is that? I think I have it calculated in the posts that follow, but about 26,000 so far. And the money that she actually borrowed to take this actual undergraduate degree was roughly, or exactly 66,975 kwacha, 75 ingwe. But surprisingly, even after 2 years of paying that 1,100, she's only reduced her loan amount by 10,000. And we're going to look at her schedule. She was able to share this with me, and we're going to explain why essentially majority of her payments are going towards interest versus actually the principal on her loan. So the other few interesting things that she highlights in this post is that she does not want to spend 10 years paying back this. And on top of that, she is basically kicking full gear and trying to tackle this debt as soon as possible. So I think, did she say that she wants to do it this entire year somewhere? Let me see if I can find that. So really, she's trying to tackle this thing as quickly as possible. I'm assuming a year or two, but we'll see how she does, and basically follow her along her journey so that you'll be able to find out how far she has progressed. And really, the fact that she's bold enough to do this is actually very admirable. And this is probably why this is one of my favorite financial accounts on Instagram. So there is our background. We now know where we are, and I'm going to use this example for the HELSB loan, student loan. So we are going to start with the loan number one, which is our HELSB loan. And then we are going to look at the HELSB statement in detail. So first things first, whenever you are getting any kind of debt, these are the minimum details that you should be aware of, even before the amount is credited to you or you receive that amount of money, whether it is a student loan, a mortgage, something from a creditor, what have you. As long as it's a debt or a loan, these are like basic principles or in terms of information that you need to know off the top of your head. First and foremost, you need to know the name of the loan. Most loans have got names. You'll see as we go through the slides. Most loans are going to have names. In this case, the name of the loan is called HELSB loan. Secondly, you need to know the creditor, who you are paying. So in this case, because it is the government, it is essentially the government of Zambia through a directorate or the ministry that facilitates this. Secondly, principal, you should know how much you are getting. It always sends red flags when I'm talking to clients or people and they don't even know what the principal is, the current balance, and worse off, the interest rate. So of course, at any given point, you should be aware of the current balance, meaning how much have you paid towards your loan? How far has it reduced? It always amazes me when I ask someone like, okay, what is your current balance? And they're like, I don't know. But when you are getting the money, you knew exactly how much you are getting. In the same way that you know exactly how much you are getting in order to stop something, you should also be aware of the current balance. This is just fact. And this is not just to be mean or anything. People need to be aware. For whatever reason, when it comes to debt, not for whatever reason, I know the reasons. When you finally get debt and it sinks in, that's a whole different story and ballgame. Then we have the interest rates. How much are you paying back in interest? What is the interest rate? At least know that, or how much are you paying in total, even if you don't know the interest rate. Then you also need to know the minimum payment amount. So this could be monthly. Please also know exactly what this is beforehand, or at least at any given point throughout your duration of your loan. And this is not just HELSB. Then we have repayment methods. Also find out what repayment methods are available to you. So when we look at repayment methods, you are going to ask your creditor questions like, how do I pay off this money? Do you allow lump sums? Do you allow multiple payments in the month? Or can I pay it off at once? Can I pay it off in chunks? All these questions will come under your repayment methods. Then also be aware of the debit date when the amount comes out, because most of the time these loan facilities are automated as far as when you are debited. So if you are debited on the 17th of every month, know that date that there needs to be money in this bank account, so that when the people come to get their monies, the monies are there. Otherwise, you're going to incur late payment fees and so on and so forth. And that is not even going to help compound interest at all. You also need to know when the start date is, when they're going to start deducting the money. Payment frequency, how frequently are you going to pay, your minimum amounts, and any other laws and policies really that's around you getting that loan. So if it's a student loan, you're going to read the Loans Act, which I did. Very, very informative document. If you're a student and you have student loan, it's a very short act, I think about 12 pages, which you can quickly read through to understand all the T's and C's affiliated with you getting such a loan. So from here, we are going to simply transition to the actual statement. And I forgot to mention, yes, when you have a question regarding anything I'll say, please simply type them in the chat so that I do not get sidelined. If I stop and ask a lot of people to ask questions as I'm giving the presentation, we'll honestly be here for 3 hours. And I want to keep this as sweet and short as, oh wow, just like I was mentioning this earlier today, to say that if you have network issues, make sure you have a backup plan. So my internet got cut for a moment. Now we are back. I kind of lost my train of thought. Anyway, so we are now transitioning into our actual launch schedule. All right. Just make sure, just give me a thumbs up or something if you can see the monetization schedule for this specific HELSB loan. Just give me a quick thumbs up. Okay, great. All right. So when you get your HELSB loan, my understanding, typically you can request this a monetization schedule. Basically, this gives you a breakdown of how your loan is going to progress as far as your balance, the interest, the amount you pay in interest, and how much money is going to go to principal, and your ending balance at each and every point of your loan. And this is actually very, very good. You can probably get this from HELSB. How you get this, I'm not quite sure. But if someone knows how to get this schedule, please write that in the comment. So we are going to go through this schedule step by step, and then just quickly understand this. First things first is you're going to see right at the top the amount that you are due to pay. So this is the amount that the government spent on your degree. Right after that, you see your interest rate, which is in this case 15%, and it is standard for HELSB loans that are given by the government of Zambia. For now, they have seemingly standardized the loan period. So the loan period in this case will be 10 years, and you're going to make 12 payments every single year. So far, so good. All this information seems to tick out as far as what you should know about your loan. Then you have a start date, and then there's a section here that has been given for optional extra payments. In this case, the student did not make any optional extra payments. Then this handy dandy table to your right gives you a loan summary, everything that you need to know about how your loan is going to progress over the next 10 years. So we'll start with the first one. So the scheduled payment. So this is how much you are going to be charged, and they are going to estimate this for you. This is an estimation that is done by the HELSB board, and they will let you know exactly how much money they will need to deduct in order to fit into this 120 payments, meaning within that 10-year period. And after that, you are going to see how much interest you're going to pay back throughout your total tenure. So in this case, you borrow a 66,975 in this case, and then you pay back 62,690.61 ingwe. Now, this is the perfect scenario. This is if everything goes according to this amortization schedule. You start at the correct date, you find a job exactly 1 year after they say all those deadlines and whatnot. And actually, now that I mention it, let's probably quickly go to the HELSB website, because quite a lot of information was found there. So in this case, this is the HELSB website for Zambia. I probably have a few international students, so the same thing is going to apply. So what I want us to focus on is important information about the loan that you're getting. So first and foremost, you need to know what this board does, how they are going to execute its objectives of this league, and what laws govern and what policies. So it tells you the Education Act, cap of blah, 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 under the laws of Zambia does this, 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 and this. Then in this tab, code loans, which you can find from services and student loans, it shows you a summary of where they are supporting loans. So you can get a student loan if you're going to any of these public universities, and probably more now. I don't know if they need to update this portion, because I think there are way more universities that they facilitate that. Then another thing that I found very useful was the repayment option. So frequently asked questions as far as repayment loan. So repayment methods, these are the ones that I was talking about. So for this scheme, they provide two main repayment methods. One, a monthly deduction method, typically the one most people would do. And the thing that they've highlighted here is the beneficiary is expected to pay back the loan in monthly installments at a compound interest rate of 15%. So yesterday, you know what compound interest is, you know how nice it is. Now just think of the opposite happening to you for now, before I actually demonstrate this. So this is 15% interest rate on a monthly basis, or rather compounded interest, but mostly these are annualized. So we have two payment methods. We also have an offset method. So typically when you are going with this method, it means either you have, typically you have another account under the company or the financial provider, such that any payments that you need to pay are offset because you're going to earn interest on something else. So for example, most countries will use things like your NAPSA benefits to offset this, but I don't know if this is the primary method that is being used at the moment. And the reason why I am saying this is because of one of their biggest mandates, is because HELSB is adamant about not recovering loans. They just don't want to recover loans. They want to recover loans, but with interest. What good would it be if they gave you 66,000 and they only got 66,000? First of all, the value of that would have depreciated due to inflation and so many things. But mostly also because there's a significant rise in terms of meeting the loan demands for people who want to go study, specifically in this case, want to go study in universities. So university is not cheap, guys. It is really, really expensive. So if you are in a position where you have guardians or parents who are willing to pay out of pocket for you your entire tenure, my God, you are blessed and you are starting at a greater foot than others are. So really, they are trying to raise funds so that they can help others. And obviously, at that point in time, typically when you're getting loans, especially student loans, you are young, you have no knowledge of generating income at a sustainable rate over time, as well as meeting your needs as a student, so meeting your education needs and then working at the same time. Sometimes people make it somehow, but at that point in time, you are a child, honestly. And what you want to do is just solve this problem of, I need to get into university, because this is the only thing that has been sung in our ears, left, right, and center. No, when you finish your grade 12, you have to go into a good university, study law, medicine, or what have you, and find a job. But obviously, we know that's not the reality. So until we know better and find better, we do the next best thing, which is getting a loan. And that is why when you get a loan, it is not a bad thing. What is bad is if you just slip all these details under the rug and then just pretend like this thing doesn't exist. That's a different story. So we have the repayment methods. You have also terms and conditions when you repay your loan, what you should do. Terms of recovery. And I found this funny. They say they give you a 1-year grace period. Basically, I'm assuming this is the time that you are fixing yourself together, finding a job, blah, 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 until you are requested. So here, a beneficiary is expected to visit the HELSB offices for a repayment plan. So when you get your degree, you yourself should go back to the offices where you submitted your application letter and seek guidance on your repayment plan. So it could be as simple as getting this schedule 1 year ahead of time, so that you are aware of what it is that you need to get done right off the bat. Do not wait to be caught in the system, because I've heard of people trying to, no, they haven't caught up with me yet. Believe you me, if there's one thing I have noticed, they are going to find you, and when they find you, it will not be pretty, especially now. And I will demonstrate what happens when there's a lapse, and luckily this schedule shows exactly that. So after you have your 1 year grace period, you start paying that back. And there's a question here, how much is my interest rate, which is 15%. So we go back to our schedule. So we have the following columns. So we are now going to focus on our column title right there in purple. So we have the first column, which is the payment number. So this schedule has been done such that your payments are going to be from 1 all the way up to 120 to symbolize the 120 payments that you need to pay back for the loan. Then we have payment date, what your beginning balance is, what your scheduled payment is, also referred to as your monthly installment, what it is that they are going to be deducting. Any extra payments you'd have paid will show up in your schedule. There's a system that does this. Your total payments at that time for that month, the principal, or not the principal. Let's pause here first. Let us pause. Then we have two interesting columns. These two. And this is what I was saying when I meant, for those that follow me on Instagram, this is what I was saying that this is a little bit upsetting. So those two columns really are the most important columns, if you ask me. So those two columns represent how much money is going to the principal, meaning that original 66,975 kwacha that you borrowed, versus how much money is actually going to the interest, how much money Helsby is trying to make. Because remember, their mandate and aim is to fundraise money. They're trying to earn money as well as help underprivileged people get their tertiary education. Two things, noble causes, if you ask me. So these two columns, and then finally, right at the end is, you're going to see a progression of how your balance is progressing over time. I think so far, so good. So far, so good. We are together. So far, so good. So far, so good. Wonderful. No questions. So I will not explain. Oops. We can't possibly go through. So I'll just scroll through the whole schedule. So we have all these payments. And this is a very nice sheet. Ne? It gives you so much information to work with. So if you have Helsby loan, please, I think they can still give this to you even while you're still doing your degree. I'm not quite sure about the T's and C's, but please get your hands on yours, because yours might not even look like this. Your payments might be different. In fact, your payments will definitely be different based on how much they have spent. So even those 100% loans that you're getting, 75, 50% bursary, and you're celebrating, eventually at the end of the day, once that degree is done, we'll catch up. So everyone's amount is going to be different, and everyone's schedule or monthly installment payment, also known as equated monthly installment, is going to be different. Now, let's break this down a little bit further, and I'm rolling up my sleeves right now. Let's break this down. So I'll probably, let's see where we can discuss. First things first, when I looked at this schedule, I noticed the following things. One was the inconsistency in terms of the payment date. Typically with loans, the payment date is always the same day. So if they say 17th of the month is when money is going to be deducted, it's always going to be that. If you're like a civil servant and you know you get paid from the 25th to the 30th, maybe you might decide just to err on the side of caution that the deduction should happen on the 30th. You choose the 30th. So it should be pretty consistent, but this one isn't. And there are there are a few reasons for this. So you see that payment date number 2, you've got 18th April, 18th, 22, 24, 24, 21, 11, 7, 7, 6. And you notice for some of them are actually falling in the same month. It's like, so when I was asking the owner of this, it's like, how come? People, do I need to disable annotations for this now as well? Okay, people, do not get excited. Let's calm down. So I was asking the owner to say, like, how come you have multiple payments in 1 month? There is no way they've told you that every month they should only be getting 1,080 ngwe. But look, in July, there are 2 payments there. So did they deduct twice? What happened? In July here, in November, 2 payments again. December, somehow it's 1. January, skipped again. This is another thing. So the owner of this statement actually confirmed something, because I was really, really worried about this. Like, there is no way these people have managed to come up with a 120 schedule. And I checked to see if the monthly payments match the interest that they'll pay plus the principal, and it did match. So here we have a few things as far as payment date. One, if you go through the act that enables disbursement of Helsby loan in Zambia, you will notice that there is a clause or section. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if it's a section, clause, or something, one of the two, that states that your employer is the one responsible for remitting this amount. So every time a 1,800 is deducted, all you know is that it has been deducted, you've done your part, then your employer are responsible for remitting it. So this specific case, the employer seemingly was not remitting information. So this is why we have all these haphazard dates coming through, where you have multiple payments going out. And you notice that in some cases down, There are even months where there are 3 deductions happening. I think I noticed one for, where we? Yes, there are 3 deductions, like all from 19 to 21. All of this happened in the same day in October. So it's like, did this person need to have 3,000 something in order to facilitate this? But really it was an issue with the employer. So as far as you are concerned, this is superb. So that answers one question. The irregular payments, they don't seem form uniform. It's 1 payment per month. So that question is answered. Second question, payment date. Why is this thing all over the place? Because what if I spend the money? Again, there was an issue with the employer, but also there is a jump. And I didn't notice this until the owner pointed it out. There's a jump, I think, up to the 31st payment here. So this is when the employee switched jobs and found another job somewhere else. So if you check month 32, everything now falls on the 1st all the way until we get to 100 and the 20th payment. So at this point, is it at this point where she was lost for a bit? I think 2 months. She was lost here for 2 months or something. So from, this is August to October, yes. She changed jobs and Helsby could not find you, but believe you me, they will find you. So my advice is, if they do not start deducting, really just tell Helsby that you're switching so that everything is aligned just for your own safety. So payment date done. Now we go back to the top. Principal and interest, our favorite 2 columns, principal and interest and the total amount. These are the 3 things we'll be focusing on. Again, so I will highlight our amount, which is everything that we pay per month, 1,080 kwacha 55 ingwe, great. But then in red, I'm going to highlight how much is going to interest. So what it is the following. When you look at these 2, I hope I can move this. When you look at the 1,080 kwacha 55 ingwe rather, this amount is going to be split into 2 portions. There's a portion that is going to be dedicated to paying down your principal, meaning the original amount that you borrowed, versus the interest, amount of money that you are to pay on top of your principal. So this is how this is divided. There is unfortunately not a 50-50 scheme to say, since it's this, just divide this by 2 portions, meaning drive 540 kwacha to the principal, 540 kwacha to the interest. No. If they did that, Helsby is not going to make any money off us. So what they do instead is they will target, and I'm sure there are ratios and legislations as far as how they split this money. Is it a 70-30 split? Is it a 80-20, 90-10? I'm sure this is somewhere, and I couldn't find this information as far as how do they split it. But keep this in mind. You are meant to pay 180 kwacha 55 ingwe, but only 200, in this case, 243 kwacha for the first payment is going towards paying down your interest. So meaning your 837 kwacha 0.15 or 15 ingwe is going to pay interest, not even the money that you borrowed. And this is actually very evident if you look at the following. So this is the amount that you are paying per month. Okay, I'm going to use a line. This is the amount of money you're paying for that month. And they've only dedicated 243 going down to principal. So what will happen is they're going to deduct 243 from your original balance, which was this 66,975 kwacha 0.75 ingwe. Meanwhile, You spend all these long hours in a job. From, in fact, you wake up at 6 hours going for work, if not 05. If you're even in Lusaka, you have got bus hustle every single day just to pay 837 kwacha down. Just 800 of all that stress you go through every single day for 1 month. In this case, for the first payment, is going towards your interest, not even the amount that you actually borrowed. And this is deliberate, like I said, to pay you, to keep you in the system longer, also to fundraise money, because how else are they going to raise money? They've given you an education, and that education is innate in you, so there's nothing that they can say, hey, vomit the degree or the knowledge that you've gotten. So they need to get that money somehow. And this cycle is going to progress until a point when things are going to flip, such that the amount that you pay in interest becomes lower versus the amount that you pay towards your principal becomes high. But by the time you get to that point, you would have already paid quite a number of money in interest. So whenever you are looking at any loan that you are given, please ask for this monetization schedule. Most creditors or financial providers have this facility. Even if they don't have, at least get the basic information as far as how much interest are you paying, what is your minimum monthly payment, and then use online calculators to actually visualize this over the entire tenure before you actually sign any documents. So I think this is clear. So this, I'm just going to simply scroll down and see if I can find the points when things switch, when the principal payments become more. Yes, at point number 66 here. Just here. Just about there. So that would be payment 66. So if we do 66 divided by 2, I mean by 12 months, at what year is this? This is the 5th year of paying down your loan. That is when now you are actually paying money down towards your principal. And at this point, this is now when you start seeing your loan balance start reducing a bit quicker, but barely. So this would be the Hellsby loan. And luckily, initially when I was creating these slides, because I know these loans, and I initially thought these loans have an actual interest that is charged on them. I thought at the end of every year, a 15% interest charge is then made on the account. And what this simply means is, in this case, they have calculated everything. So this is the perfect loan. If anything, this is a good way of paying off debt, especially when they've already factored in your interest payments into your minimum amount and everything. But typically, when you get a loan and they say they are going to compound this interest, where is this statement again? That they are going to compound this at an annual rate of 15%. This is what will typically happen. And I think for that, I will show this in this calculator. So I did a rough estimate using this calculator, but using a compound interest calculator. So wherever you see this line here, these mimic the 12-month mark. So at month 12, according to this calculator, your balance would have moved from 66,000 to 63,000. Then the all glorious, the wonderful thing that we love, compound interest, is then factored in when we are doing investments. If this was the case, this is what would have happened in a very bad ideal scenario. So they would come, the system would say, okay, as of December, the first 12 months, this student has 63,192.59 balance. We are now going to apply our 15% interest. And this is what credit companies actually do. Sometimes the compounding is done monthly, which is terrible. It is extremely bad. I can't even explain how bad this versus them compounding it annually. And then they'll say, okay, times our 15%. So because this is a percentage, we do it as 0.15. And then they throw in an additional 9,479 kwacha to that balance. So rather than you starting the new 12 months with a 63,000 kwacha, they are going to add this compound interest, because remember, we love compound interest. So now your loan has now gone back to 72 kwacha, but you borrowed 66 kwacha. I'm not saying this is what happens, but typically for other creditors, I don't know if this is legal. It depends on the financial governing body of the land, in this case, Bank of Zambia. If this is allowed, some countries allow this, meaning you even owe more than you initially borrowed. Basically, the monthly deductions have done nothing to help you. Those 1,018 ngwes have gone nothing. You've woken up and worked, sweated for 1 month for nothing, and your balance has even gone up. On top of this, if there are any missed payments, late payments, all of those charges are added onto it. And the people who are notorious for those kind of payments are microfinances. So we then move on to microfinances, which is the second kind of microfinance, because I want you to see all these things that we don't factor in when we are borrowing money, especially when you're under pressure. So especially this time of the year, there's a lot of school pressure. I even saw an ad on Twitter where FNB was offering loans at 50,000 kwacha, and they even threw in a draw to say that no, if you get a loan worth 50,000 kwacha and you enter a draw, blah, 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 you are going to win something. But whoever wins something from borrowing a loan, how are the bank going to make money? So this is the Hellsby section, and typically this is the perfect scenario. I must mention that also, if you take long, because there's that 1 year grace period for this loan, they say that you should start making your payments 1 year after you graduate. And do you know how these people keep track of graduation? It's weird, because even when I was searching on this, they even post graduation congratulatory posts on their social media. So when people are graduating from Unza, Hellsby post, oh, congratulations. That means somebody who's in charge of finding all those people who were in that graduating year. Be assured that you're being tracked down to start paying back your loans. So, and there is no way of hiding, guys. If you want to hide from these payments, there's nothing like, no, I'm going to go to Australia, or I'm going to go to Japan. They won't find me. Nope. Everything is in the act. You are going to be found. If you want to evade this, go to Mars. Not anywhere that the Zambian government has an embassy. So just don't go there, I guess, because they've also factored those into their act. So Hellsby, I hope that is clear. No questions from the chat, so we can quickly go on to loan type number 2. Non-bank loans, microfinances. Oh, these guys. In my next life, I want to be a microfinance company or service provider, because my God, the way you can not really rip off people, but legally you're allowed to charge these things is astonishing to me. So with non-bank loans, so these are microfinances and the like. So these are your Finca, your Madison, and all these other guys. There's one key thing that you need to be aware of, is that the cost of borrowing a certain amount of money from one microfinance to another, even though the adverts look the same, the colors might look very different on the posters, but they are not the same. And the reason why is that there are so many funny charges really hidden. But luckily, we are backed by the law, because all these non-bank institutions are required by law to essentially provide us and disclose our effective annual rates, meaning everything that is involved with the loan from the time that they give it to you up to the end. They need to disclose all these things. And even when I was asking someone from the bank to say, when people come to get loans, do you explain all these things to them? Because it's astonishing how things happen, to say that, no, I didn't know that my loan was this much, or my payment was this much. But people at the person I was talking to at the bank actually said, no, when a person comes to the bank, the first thing and the only thing on their mind at that point is that they have this emergency that has come up, or this opportunity that has come, or this wonderful business idea that has come, and they need debt to facilitate that. And they're not really reading the T's and C's. And because you are a consultant at the bank, you are first, and you run through the credit check, blah, blah, you think they're in good standing, you give them the money. So here we have an example of Unify. Unify is the example that I have. So we are quickly going to discuss this one quickly. Before we do that, let us look at these T's and C's that are very, very small. And it's also funny that the T's and C's document that I found is also in small print. Let me see. Okay. All right, we can see the screen, I'm assuming. So, and look, this is from Bank of Zambia. So I didn't make this document up. All this information is available. So when you seek out information, you definitely find it. I've never looked at this document until now when I was preparing for this class. So Bank of Zambia consolidated all charges, fees, commissions, and even demonstrated how much it would cost to borrow 1,000 kwacha for 1 year across all these microfinances or non-bank financial institutions, and showing all those things. This is very, very good data. So let's start by looking at the typical charges, because these sometimes can be very, very, very funny. So I'll try to zoom in until we can start to see these things. Oops, too much. Maybe about there. Whoever who's unmuted their mic, I think let me just disable muting. It'll be easier. Okay, hopefully that will remove that noise. So these are the typical charges that these non-bank financial institutions are going to charge for. And this was consolidated in 2019. The charges still are relevant, even though it was done 4 or 5 years ago. So first and foremost, things that we don't think of, or at least I didn't think of, was things like service debt recovery fees. I'm like, what? Insurance, why are you getting insurance fee when I'm borrowing money? So all these essentially represent the fees that Bank of Zambia has authorized these companies to charge. All these wonderful. You are going to have the interest cost, which is essentially the amount of interest that you're going to pay. Then you have a loan processing fee, administration fee, loan application fee, insurance, commitment fee, debt recovery fee, credit bureau reference. So this is when they do a credit check on you, and any other credit related charges. Sometimes there's even what do you call it? An account maintenance fee. It's like, why do you need an account maintenance fee? It is a loan. Typically, when you have bank accounts, there are features that you need to get from anywhere, because you're getting someone's money probably. So these are the typical ones that you see. And the interesting thing is, as you go through this document, the effective annual interest rate is very, very different across each company. So you might think, if I borrow from Agro Microfinance Zambia Limited versus ALS Capital, the effective annual interest rate is what you're looking for, not that interest rate that you tell you, no, us it's 22%, no, us it's 20. So you go for the one that is 20%, thinking it is cheaper. You have to look at all these other total costs involved when you come to borrow money from these other financial creditors. So here you look, they've given the amount as far as how much it would cost. So these ones here are saying, to borrow from Microfinance Limited, it will cost you 87%. This is the effective annual interest rate. And basically, these interest rates vary from one institution to another simply because of these T's and C's and all these other costs related. Administration fee of 50 kwacha. So it seems 50 kwacha seems to be this. And then loan application fee. You are trying to borrow money and then they're even charging you money for the loan application, which is 137 kwacha, which is more than half, almost half of the actual interest that you're going to pay back. So if you look at these effective annual rates, let me highlight this at the bottom. You notice that they vary from 50%. I think there was a 300 or 400% I saw somewhere. So these ones here are the ones that you should focus on as I scroll through. So we have 87%, 57, 89, 43, 187%, 141, 88, 500, and so on. So basically, this is exactly how much it would cost if you borrowed from all these companies. And the thing is, this charges and fees commission chart just shows you at a glimpse. So I'm not sure if they annualized everything, because a lot of things go down when you're actually paying back your loan. So now let's look at an actual example. So because it's been too quiet and I feel like I'm talking to myself, so just give me thumbs up if we are following, or so far so good in the chat. Let me just get some feedback. And at least we are aware that these are the charges. So these are from these other ones. And then we also have other terms and conditions. These ones are even, I don't even know what category the Bank of Zambia rated these, but these charges here are different from these other ones. This one, even the list is completely long. There's discount fee, processing fee. What is arrangement fee? I have no idea what arrangement fee means, but there's an arrangement fee which you can charge. For those people who are loan sharks or people who deal with credit, these are ideas for you. Please make your money. You can charge inspection, but obviously you can't legally do this because you have to be registered under Bank of Zambia. But look, people who are registered, search fees, I have no idea what facility fees mean, appraisal fees, why, all these things. If you think search, facility, and appraisal fees should have all come under credit bureau reference when they query your account. But all these things, and then there's even a portion for other related things. And then you've got the effective annual interest rates also shown here at the bottom for these others. So the ones that we know is National Savings and Credit Bank. We have Development Bank, Zambia Home. These are institutions that we know. Zambia National Building Society, Finance Building Society, all these are companies that we know of. So now that we understand our playground as far as what we are working with non-bank institutions, let's actually quickly look at one from an actual microfinance. Oh, we're already 1 hour in. This is why I said I would do Q&A at the end, because if I was to, I'll try to quickly explain this so that we talk about the last one quickly. There's just one more, which is the bank, and hopefully all the information that I have, I will be able to explain quickly when I look at the bank one. Visa, I see that your hand is raised. Please either take down your question or type it in the chat. I will do question and answer at the back, at the end of this one. So now let's look at, this is an actual statement for someone that got money from Unify. And weirdly enough, the way in which you read this is bottom up. So we have clients, we have a client that goes to Unify and they need a loan, and they say, okay, how much money do you need? So they get a loan for, there'll be a lot of annotating here. They need a loan for 5,795. The loan amount, which is the principal. You have the tenor given, which is 1 year. The product, so that one, the first one we looked at was called Zaku loan. I mean, Helsby, this one is called Zaku. And then it even gives you the number of term and how much your installment is. So here, this 6,500 kwacha is the amount that you're supposed to pay back, and you pay this in one installment. So it's a 1 month kind of loan, a quick thing. You want to solve a problem here, quick, sharp, you pay them back their 6,535 kwacha, you are done. So this is what happens throughout the progression of this loan. This amount is transferred to the person's account here, 5,795. Then there's a processing fee, 20. The balance increases to now 5,815. Now, during this month, for whatever reason, something happened and the person was not able to pay this money back. So what does the person do? They go back to Unify and say, Buanas, I need more money. Hence, you see this. And all of this seemed to have happened all at once in 1 month. So you see a loan transfer and it's moving from this reference number to that reference number. So they've carried the balance over. So this ZACO loan thing that they got ended, but they still haven't made this 6,535 kwacha. They still need to pay this back, but they've upgraded their loan. So I'm going to scroll up so that we see. So now they have gone and they now have a new loan. Now this new loan, they've upgraded from ZACO. Now we have reward loan. Reward loan, this time we are not asking for 5,000. We are now even asking for more money. We are saying 13,800. And to pace myself, I'll say I'll pay it back across 7 months. And my monthly installment is going to be 2,840 kwacha. So far, so good. Great. So we've asked for a loan, 7 months, and you've been given your payments. There's a lot of other information missing, but at least this piece of information is there, vital. We can proceed. So we'll start from the bottom. Please keep this information in your head as we move. So remember this 5,800 that we haven't yet paid back, it is added to this person's credit or this person's new reward loan. And it shows up in form of a loan transfer, this one. But because they asked for 13,800, remember what they originally asked for? This. So what they do is, instead of the loan company, what the loan company does, instead of giving them the full 13,000 as they requested it for here, they just pay a difference. And obviously that's a good move. So they just top up like this and say, we are going to top up an 8,080 kwacha so that you have your total. So meaning these two amounts, when you add them together, they'll give you that. So just to verify, I'm going to do the addition and I'll do this just once. So do 5,815 plus 8,050, which gives that, which is the loan amount. And now we can progress through our 7 months of payments. So right off the bat, we start getting our deductions. So we have the usual fees, processing fee, then we have insurance hit, and yet you as an individual, what you know is that you should only be paying back this 2,840 kwacha. But in addition to this 840 kwacha, you should pay an insurance fee of 119 kwacha, plus a processing fee of 20 kwacha, plus an interest fee, again, in 1,800. So by the time you get to the first month, the original amount that you had was 13. We're already growing, and we had 15,000 kwacha, 221 ngwe. And something happens. There's a payment that comes in, and I think a payment is actually missed. Where's my mouse? Where's my mouse? Yes, a payment is missed, and now we are in arrears. I haven't explained this last column here, but very important. It measures how much you have in arrears, because you can also get interest on late payments as well as arrears. So luckily, the following day, a payment is then credited and you breathe a sign of relief. It's like, whew, 2,840, which is what you should have paid, goes into the account. Your balance now reduces to 12,000 from 15,000. And again, the same charges are charged the following month. You have insurance. This time there's no processing fee. So it's like, oh, thank God. Interest is charged, but interest is also becoming smaller, which is good. And your usual installment. And you miss another payment. 24th seems to be the payment date. And this is why I say, please know your payment date so that when that payment is due, there is money where it needs to be so that you do not miss those payments. Then we go into arrears. Luckily, following day, money is credited. So arrears, we are back to 0. Good. Balance has reduced to 10 and so forth. So this goes on until something. So this is the second loan. Another loan was gotten. Don't know what happened. A different amount this time, 10,000, same facility, which is the reward loan. But I want, there's a portion I want to illustrate when something happens. I don't know what happened here. Okay, found it. So we are in September. The usual, and I don't even know which, I'm sure this is another loan of 13,900. So the typical payments, again, we have the processing fee coming in at 20 kwacha, we are starting at 0. Then we have the insurance again. Then we have the interest coming in. And then we have your installment. And then a missed payment again. A missed payment happens. Now, this time, the client or I only managed to pay 1,700 instead of the original 2,840. So now this is where the interest starts coming up. So now, for whatever reason, for this specific one, they start charging this interest in arrears in interest, because you did not match the payment of 2,800. You paid less than the agreed amount on the contract. So they start paying you interest. Then we are in May. The usual payments for May now start kicking in again. Your usual monthly insurance, the usual interest rates, the usual installment. Then another payment that is new comes in. This one, failed direct debit attempt. So this one typically comes in from Bank of Zambia. I think these guys have their own payment that they charge. So this is a fixed payment and it goes on and like this. So now, instead of you reducing your amount because you got a 13,000, your loan is slowly growing from 14 to 15. And every single time any amount is being added, the interest rate is always going to be charged on what is your prevailing balance, any other administrative fees and all those other fees in addition to what you are supposed to pay. So therefore, really the point of all of this is to say is that when you get a loan, whether it is a student loan such as the HELSB, which is most favorable versus a microfinance or a bank loan, make sure you factor in all those charges so that when you are making your payments are actually going to be much quicker. All right, then we move on to our third one and the final one. Then we can conclude. So for this one, I will not go into too much detail. So with bank loans, it's almost similar to our non-bank finances. Really, the things that you should be paying attention to are the same things I mentioned here at the beginning. Really ensure that you have money. When your account needs to be debited, you know exactly how much you're supposed to pay. Also know the division as far as how much is going towards interest and how much is going towards the principal and any other additional costs. So even as Financial Savvy is going on her debt repayment journey, she will need to know she already knows the difference, luckily. If there were any other charges such as insurance, she would also need to factor all those in to ensure that she pays off those things quickly. So I quickly want to end by 2030 sharp. So I have less than 20 minutes. So let's backtrack. The bank loans, even if I showed them to you, I think I've explained everything that I need to explain when I was explaining our microfinances. So debt, let's backtrack a little and we start from the beginning again. Typically, what happens in real life is that when we seek out debt, it's not that we are bad people, no. The weirdest things can happen that can get you into debt. I'll give one example. Chipepo, the person that was giving you a class yesterday, got into debt last year simply because of her handwriting. Legit, her handwriting was not eligible enough for the person at the bank who went to bid on her behalf for a bond and ended up bidding for a higher amount than she actually enabled. So she went into debt and she was able to pay that off. Do not advise that though. That was a very stressful 6 months period until the first coupon came out. Next thing is that the idea is that when you get debt, the reason why we do this is because we cannot financially cover the cost of whatever it is that is happening there. So therefore we go seek financial assistance to get some loan or help credit, but most often than not, like my friend who's a banker said, people do not read the T's and C's. What is on most people's mind is, I need to get this money, how it is dispersed, all the technicalities, I don't care, I have this pressure, I want to pay it back. But now, moving forward, things you already, at least you are aware of the things that you should be able to tell as far as what you should know when you get debt. There are other things that can help you facilitate or guide you as far as whether or not this debt payment option or creditor is favorable than the other. First and foremost, any financial provider is legally required to disclose all the terms and conditions. Sometimes it might not be in the simplest English that you might understand, but when you get your loan application, whatever document it is, read through it and try to understand and Google as much as you can. Also, always request for the annual percentage rate, and this is going to cover everything, including all the fees, these insurance fees, the processing fee, facility fees, search fees, and all those funny fees that we've just seen. Make sure they tell you all those things. But not all hope is lost. There are simple financial principles that are available to help you get out of debt. Simple things like, first and foremost, you need to assess your current debt situation. It might be a scary thing to face the number, like as it is, because some people have multiple debts from different loans. First step is to accept that you have them, you are not a bad person, and you did the best that you could in that moment. Then that's where you need to pick yourself up and then start making a plan, which is essentially a budget. Everyone's favorite financial term, the B word, a budget. You then need to start tracking your spending, then earn more money. It's the only way that you are going to help yourself. The trick is to earn more money so that you filter that money towards the principal payment versus your interest payment. And also try to stop borrowing money to clear out debt. So you borrow from one person or one facility to clear off another thing, and then another pressure comes in, and then you keep repeating the cycle. So you are not helping yourself. So how do you go about creating a debt of plan? These are things that you can find on the internet anywhere. First things first is that you're going to list all of your debts and their details. You're going to determine an order of priority, then select a strategy. Typically with paying off debt, you have two methods, avalanche and snowball. Avalanche focuses on paying off the largest interest debt first because you pay less in interest. Snowball typically focuses on using the balances as a key. So you pick the smallest amount, pay that off so that it gives you momentum. Or you can use a combination of the two. There are in many YouTube videos or podcasts and articles that you can read about these two strategies to see how you can implement them. But really, if you can't earn more money to pay off the debt, really the only other alternative is live below your means. That is the only way you are going to create enough margin between how much debt you pay and how much interest you pay and how quickly you pay that debt off. So now, final questions and final thoughts. You've now heard both compelling arguments, the wonderful compelling arguments yesterday as far as how compound interest can create wealth. If you start as early as the day your baby is born, you can create an investment fund with 2 million, 1.5 million, or whatever it is, so that by the time they're 20 or 18-year-old, they have this vast wealth that you can gift them. But on the other side, you have, not everyone is going to be privileged to have that kind of life. You also need debt every once in a while. But now that you know the ins and outs of debt and investing and how compound works with both, you at the end of the day are going to still make the decision as far as whether you are going to focus on paying off your student loan first or debt versus investing, because really the most important thing here is time. No matter what, time is the only valuable resource that you can't recreate, delete, multiply, divide. Time is just time. The sooner you start, the better. So for others, it will really depend on their life choices and how things have happened. Some people have lived lives where they've never known debt. So even just the thought of owing someone even a 50 kwacha cringes them and makes them wake up at night. They would rather clear it off, even if there is no debt. Others don't care. They can be borrowing left, right, and cent and sleeping just fine. So you have to essentially decide for yourself what works for you. Then on the investing side, and I think Chipepo tackled this yesterday, is when you're investing and you want compound interest to work for you, the idea is know which assets you are investing in, know about them as much as you can, their ins and outs, pros and cons, payment plans, what have you, know them such that, and I always say this, you can explain this to your grandmother, your grandparents, and the fish is going to acknowledge that, yes, when you've explained government bonds, and the fish responds that I understand. Secondly, you do not eat your money babies. This is the interest that you earn. So this is either your dividends, your coupons, all of those things need to be reinvested back so that compound can work effectively. Key thing there, again, start early, and again, diversify your investment portfolio. So these are just investing 101 basics. You're not going to put all your money in stocks. You're never going to put all your money in government bonds. You're never going to put all your money in a business. You're going to diversify, or even real estate. You're going to diversify your portfolio such that depending on what is happening within that sector, things will balance out effectively. And then finally, just to conclude, the quote, compound interest. This is one of my favorite quotes by Albert Einstein, is that compound interest is one of the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. And this was done wonderfully yesterday in Chipepo's class. So if you understand how compound works, you're going to earn and benefit from it. On the other hand, if you don't understand it, you pay it. So meaning the people who have made plans on your money, like creditors, Hellsby, are going to reap the benefits, and you are going to pay for that money. And here ends my presentation. Very, very brief. So I will stop sharing the screen and then quickly go through our chat and see if there are questions that I can answer. Okay, so I think I will quickly go through everyone. Could hear me loud and clear. Great. No questions so far, no questions. So yes, someone asked, you can request for the statement from Hellsby, and they should be able to facilitate that. Please, if you've got Hellsby loan, please go ahead and get yours so that you already know what you're working with. Do they by chance give loans to Zambians abroad? I'm not quite sure. I think there are certain T's and C's, in the sense that if you are getting a loan, typically they only facilitate loans to universities within the country. So those are the universities that I was sharing, the things like UNZA, CBU, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not quite sure, but I doubt it. So when they give things for outside, those are scholarships. Those are different from loans. That's something else. So someone was asking, is the 66 for a year or the whole period? No, it was for the entire 10-year period. And so far we were following. Good, 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 good. Everything was making sense. So someone asked, personally, do you agree with people getting student loans to get into university? So this part is situational. For me personally, I was blessed and lucky enough that the course that I wanted to do was offered locally, so I didn't need to travel out of town, and the fees that were being charged at the time, quote unquote, were affordable. So my parents were able to facilitate that. But everyone's life situation is different. So yes and no. The no part is if a person is doing it blindly. Mostly when you are 18 years old and your relatives are telling you, go and apply for HELSB, go and apply for HELSB, you go to UNZA or CB or what have you. If they are doing it to remove the burden of themselves and throw that at you or your family dynamics, it's really, there's no right or wrong answer, because everyone wants to have the same or equal opportunities once they get a professional qualification at the end of the day. So this one is actually, there is no right or wrong answer, but at least being knowledgeable is what I would advise. So another one asks, if you had a lump sum amount, is it possible to go and request that the lump sum amount be made towards the principal amount so that it may reduce the compounding effect in over time of the debt? I believe so. I believe so, because when they calculate your monetization schedule, that 180 kwacha that they give you has factored in the interest rate that they want out of you. So if you have a lump sum, I'm sure they can allow it. If not, the people at HELSB will be able to advise how much money. Also, when you go with this lump sum, I think will also determine, because if you're making it way before your degree ends or between that 1 year period, I think there are some leeways there, but I think it's just a matter of contacting them and finding them out. That should be possible. Does compound interest you're expected to pay back grow with time? In this case, for the HELSB student, no, but for other kind of loans, yes, it definitely does. How to access the recording? I joined quite late. The recording is available at a fee of 300 kwacha, so just send me your email address and proof of payment to the same number and I'll be able to share it. Same with Mary. So is it possible to claim for insurance if you clear your bank loan before given date? So if this is the insurance you are paying, no. If you are talking about those small insurances that they're charging you, no. That one is part of the package. You have to pay it. You can't get it back. That's them. If you're talking about that 119 that we saw being charged, nope. That is their money. It's gone. You can't claim it back. Where can you get the document for BOS? Everything related to Bank of Zambia can be found in the Bank of Zambia website. Well, thank you, Ignatius. You're welcome for the presentation. Thank you, Olivia. Yes, you are welcome. Mary, you're welcome. Is it possible to readjust the repayment plan in an event one needs to speed up the payment period? I think the easiest way to do this is probably make the extra date payments yourself, or ask HELSB to say that if you want to change that 1,080 to maybe, let's say, 2,500, I think there are options available, but extra payments are always there. What you need to do is simply make sure you keep a detailed record of any extra payment you're going to scan, save those as PDFs, and then send them to HELSB so that they can be updating your account. Definitely. So will I send the sheets? Mutinta, you have to be specific which sheets. I can't send you the individual ones, but I can give you links to where I found the Bank of Zambia when it's on their website. That one, you can find it on their website. Anyone can find that one. How do you invest with compound interest? Where do you go? So This question was asked in Chipepo's class. So compound interest is more of a concept. So let me see if I have my financial plan from last year and I will be able to share that with you. So compound interest is more of actions and a concept. It's not a thing that you can go to or see. So let me see if I can share this. So simple scenarios of where compound interest works is when you receive dividends, the best thing you can do is facilitate that into a different asset. So let's see. Okay, so I've opened up my dividends. Now I'm just looking for my annual plan. Just give me a sec, and then I'll be able to share my screen. Okay. Let's see. All right, wonderful. So I have it. So who asked this? I think it was Harrison. Perfect. I hope Harrison is still with us. So we'll start with dividends. So this is a dividend tracker that I use to track my dividends. So this shows you the total amount of dividends I have received over my 2-year thing. So in 2021, it was this. 2022, the dividends were that. And the companies and so on and so forth. So where does this come about? So let's take, which dividend will I show? The November one. So let's look at November. November. Okay. So we are looking at 2022 and actually December. I can show November and December. So in 2022, this is the amount of dividend, 41,000 kwacha from different companies. In November specifically, I received 33,017 kwacha. So what you need to do in order for compounding to work, so this is taking interest earned from one asset class into another. So this 33,000 that you see, you're going to see it being reflected here as income. So there's a row called dividends, and this shows the dividends that I've received. So this is the exact amount that you see here, 33,17 kwacha. That came from one company. So when you receive your interest, the idea is you compound it into another thing or the exact same thing. So I had multiple options here. I could have bought more shares. I could have bought a bond. I could have started a business of my own. I could have put it in a fixed deposit. I could have gone to buy a plot. I could have put it in T-bills. I could even have bought more stocks or whatever. So those were the options. So for this specific month, however, so you notice this amount. This is under the income section. So if you go down, this is where my investment section, savings and investings are, this portion here from here. So we are focusing in November. So I have a 13,000 that went to stocks. So this was from my usual paycheck. I invest every single month. Then that 33,017 kwacha, I even decided to even top up. Actually, I didn't top up. I received the bond coupon, 318 kwacha. I added this to this. So basic mathematics, simple. Let's add this too. So I said 13, 17 plus 13, 1 this. And I got 33 something. I was like, oh, just to even this out, I just added the 2 kwacha to even things out so that it is 33.40. Where did I put this money? I did not go and spend it. I put it in another different asset class. In this case, I've got this column called coupons and dividends reinvesting. This for me symbolizes me putting it in a unit trust. And I'm not saying that just because me, I do this, all of you people here should continue doing this. But this is essentially compounding. And this is actually what it looks like. So this money went to the unit trust that I subscribe to, and voila. Then I have another example. In December, There was another coupon that came in, this time 2,397,000. Yeah, 97 kwacha. Same principle. I just rounded it off so that it is an even number again, sent it again to the unit trust. There's a strategy that I have as far as what it is that I'm going to do as far as building wealth, but this is one. Things change from time to time according to my goals, my why, and everything that's happening around. But this essentially is what compound interest looks like. There is nothing mystical or magical about it as far as there is like top secret and something special that no one else can do. It is simply you get money, you channel it into a different asset. You get money, channel it into this, maybe even the same one. I could have decided to have put it back in the same company that I received it from, but I had other financial goals, and this is why you do not copy people. There are a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes that I need to facilitate as far as just living my day-to-day life. There are certain things according to my wealth strategy, my wealth creation as far as what I need to get done. And that's basically it. Harrison, I hope compound interest is no longer a mystery to you. It's essentially you find money, small, big, you get a 150 bond coupon, you take it somewhere else, you go buy shares, or you start up a business. If there's a spice business you want to start up and the interest there is 400% interest, you buy spices and do spices at the invest. Like you, the idea is you do not drink the money, you go buy Hungry Lion or what have you. The idea is you take it from one asset and put it into another one. So I really hope this is now clear. That's exactly what compounding looks like, guys. On basic level, it is just that. Thank you so much, JK and Yurinda. Thank you, Grace. So Natasha asks, would it be wiser to invest the lump sum money in the 5-year bond, for example, than pay off loan after 5 years? Good question. You have to run your numbers. People showed you so many online calculators yesterday. You know the interest rates for bonds, the yields. You also know the interest, how much interest you are paying off as far as the loan. If you do it in 5 years, there are so many calculators. Run the numbers. If you want, you can contact me for a paid consultation. We can run the numbers together if you don't know how to, but it's really up to preference, your financial goals. There is no one way is better than the other. It's all about running your numbers. You're welcome, Angela. Joseph, you're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome, Margaret. Yes, Chipepo, there's a question regarding your Zoom meeting. Yes, Chipepo, please unmute your mic quickly and tell us about the Zoom meeting. How can people access that if you're still around? Mitupa, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Sorry if I'm butchering your names. You are welcome. Yes. So does 300 give you access to both recordings? No, just mind. Pepo, Kaya, she'll tell you has. So Pepo also says the scholarships by Hellsby are also loans even when you're outside Zambia. Oh, guys, I thought they only give out scholarships. So if you go outside, it's also loans. Yeah. Yeah, so it's rough. It's rough. All right. Okay. Oh, sorry. I forgot that I disabled muting. Hold on. Let me find that option. Sorry, Chipepo, now you can unmute your mic. Sorry.
No problem. So yeah, the videos, like Victoria said, good evening, guys. Like Victoria said, it's actually different. So it's separate. Mine too is 300 kwacha. So those who attended, so what I'm going to do is just take my time, which means I'm going to revamp the presentation and re-record. Oh, I'm breaking. That's unfortunate. Yeah, I'll need to re-record. I'll type this in the chat anyway. So I'll re-record a video, a clean version on compound interest, and that's also going to be 300 kwacha actually. So I'll announce when I do that. So as you know, if that class was already good, it means now if I even take my time and just try to make sure it's even better than the class, it will be a really good video. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so yes, there you have it, 300 for both, so 600 if you want one. Yes, so someone has asked, was I personally on academic loan? Nope, my mother and father paid, and for those 4 years, they were just eating vegetables like wondwe in the garden. Not even carpenter. Carpenter is expensive these days. So no, luckily I was not on a loan. And actually, the reason why I didn't get a loan was just by chance. I refused to go to UNS and CBU because I was scared of riots. So I chose Mulungushi and said, yeah, I'm going to go to MU because there they don't riot. Visa, sorry, your hand has been up for the longest time and I completely forgot. Please unmute your mic and ask your question if you have one. Or maybe it was just an error. All right. So I hope everybody has learned 1 or 2 things. Please send your reviews. I will need your reviews just like Chipepo. Do not just write your thank yous here. I need a detailed review, what exactly you learned, what you didn't know, what you already knew, but it was good to see that again. Please write your reviews and send them back via WhatsApp. So I'll need to compile those and then send them. Yes, so someone asked, what is the minimum amount you need to invest in stocks, bonds when you're just getting started? For stocks, it's really dependent on the broker, but on average, it's just 500 kwacha. For bonds, it's 1,000 kwacha. And I have classes that you can pay for and watch at your own convenience when you make the payment. So I do not have scheduled monthly classes anymore. Whenever you make payments, you have instant access to the class and you can start learning. I also have a facility where I can help you facilitate opening up all of your investment accounts. Typically, these are threefold: your unit trust, your government securities, and also your stock CSD account. All those at a fee, and you can find all the services and products in the catalog, guys. So read through the description and then see what option fits you. If you have debt and you need help creating a debt payoff plan, I also do one-on-one sessions just on debt payments. So that would be the financial, personal financial coaching on one-on-one, and it's 500 kwacha per hour. And it can facilitate a debt payoff plan, and when you're going to get done, all the tools and things that you can use as far as paying it off quickly. So how do you access the catalog? So if you go to if you've saved my number, you should be able to see on my profile that there's that car house shop looking icon. So when you click that, it will show you all the services that I have, from classes to coaching and the personal one-on-ones. You'll be able to see things. All right, guys, any other questions? This is the time to ask questions. I will answer, but don't ask me, how do I buy a bond? Because that is a 3-hour session of things that you need to know. But you buy a bond from Bank of Zambia, and that's the answer. Oh, I am only 10 minutes overrun, which is good. Typically, I talk and talk a lot. Who are my stockbrokers, like my personal ones or the general ones? Because there are a lot. So if we're looking at general ones, we have Pangay, we have Equity Capital, we have stockbrokers, we have Longhorn, we have Hobbiton, we even have Madson. The one I personally use, Marjorie, is Stockbroker Zambia Limited, the one with the boo, and it's red, green, and orange, I think. But yes, Stockbroker Zambia Limited is my broker, the best in the business, the longest, or the best in the business, as that's my opinion. Everyone's experience with them varies. Any other questions? One last question and then I will sign off. Okay. Ooh, any books you would advise starting this investment journey? Yes. If you are on Instagram, I have a highlight called Reading that has all the books I've read, financially and otherwise. But if you want just one recommendation, it would be Smart Money Woman, because it teaches about finance from the African perspective and things that we experience on a day-to-day life. So Smart Money Woman. And then the second book I would recommend would be I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. So those are my two recommendations. Have you ever used Equity Capital? Yes, they are my broker on the app. Do not ask me any questions about the app though. The app works and doesn't work. It hasn't been working for months in terms of just viewing your portfolio, and then more than almost a year at this point as far as trading. So if you want to buy shares, just go through the physical brokers and then use the app as an interface. All right, I said one last question. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you so much once more for spending your evening with me. We are going to continue chatting via the Instagrams, the Facebooks, and also my WhatsApp. You have my WhatsApp. Save that number, and anytime you want a service, we can always chat through there. So other than that, please have a blessed night, and I'll see you in the next class when I will have it. So I'll stop the recording now.